Welcome in, One Nation, to another episode of the Hive podcast. TJ Winger joined today by head coach Brad Dunn. Coach Dunn, thank you for joining the pod.
Thank you for waiting a couple extra minutes for my coffee to finish brewing. I wanted to stay on brand, have my coffee with me, and looking forward to chat with you today, TJ.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and you know what? If there's anybody in this department who understands the need for coffee, you're talking to the right guy. Little anecdote here. First time I had met you in person, I'm lost on campus, wondering where Shul is, trying to make my way about. You run into me, point me in the right direction. We start talking about coffee, and then at this point, we had just gotten this huge, probably 40 ounces of a container. And
like
I was telling you,
ones we were wearing. I remember that.
Full of coffee. And so, yes, this is the coffee podcast. We got to get a sponsor for this one. But awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. It's been a really busy past couple of weeks for you all. And I kind of want to start right there. So we've had a lot of different athletes and coaches on, and they have their fall sports or their spring. Swim is year-round in a lot of ways because y'all's first meet was in November, correct?
Correct.
And then y'all will have, nationals are in the middle of March, if memory serves.
Well, our first home meet was in November. The first time that we competed was in the first weekend of October, right? Our first practice was the first week of September. So, we were on campus for about 3 weeks in classes with the early start of the semester. But we've really been at it almost the entire school year. And then plus, we had an extended academic break this year, a different academic calendar, the way Lynchburg decided to do it. So we were back for 2.5 weeks in December. We've already been back for about 3 weeks in January. So there is a different level of the grind when it comes to swimming. Not harder, not different, or nothing more challenging than what other sports endure, just different, right? And so I think that the coaches wear it, but the swimmers more so take pride in it. And as we look to our last couple weeks of the season right now, in the regular season, that is, really excited for how all of that work is going to pay off.
Yeah, and those year-round sports are so interesting for me to just watch and kind of consume y'all's routine because with some of, let's say you compete from, February into April. Let's say you're a spring sport, that's when your schedule is. After that, you're thinking about, okay, well, this is how the team performed. What can I do as a coach better? Okay, we got to do the recruiting year-round too, but you're doing just about everything year-round. So I got to know, how do you balance the team component, making sure everybody's ready for practice, and okay, we have the travel requirements met for this meet this weekend, but then also I've got to get recruits to the class of 2026 and 7 and so on and so forth.
Yeah. If you figure out exactly how to do it, I'd love to read that manifesto. Right. I think that the important thing is you've always got to be working on it. You've always got to be learning. You've always got to be adapting. Obviously, my first year as a head coach at this program, 19-20 season, was great. We had this great first step, and then you had to be pretty adaptable going into the 2020-2021 season where things were massively different with the COVID protocols last year and then are still ever changing with what we're doing. So I think that's just indicative of how life is at the college level as an athlete. You've got to be able to really set what you can into routine, but then you've got to be adaptable with the other things that come your way. You've got to have the foresight to plan, like you said, the travel pieces, the different training cycles that we work with in swimming, knowing when we want to peak, when we want to be kind of at our high threshold of training. And then you've got to be good at communicating that too, to have the athletes buy in. And that's just always a process, because once you get it great, with the group we've got now, we're going to have our freshman class coming in and teaching it to them. And I think that's been what's great about the group that we have they've been tremendous about adapting to being college athletes, getting used to being, the level of swimmer it takes to be a college swimmer as opposed to what they did in high school or with their club teams when they were swimming age groups. So they've adapted really well. They've really led the charge. They've bought into a vision with myself and our coaching staff along with the team together of what we want it to be and just always growing and building on that.
And, even just talking about yourself, this is your 4th year here, 3rd season competing. You have the honor of being, the inaugural head coach of this program. I have got to know what that process is like when you have that given to you, or obviously you're excited. Hey, it's an opportunity to be a head coach at the collegiate level, but also it's got to be kind of daunting. I'm building this from the ground up.
Well, it's stuff that we've kind of touched on before and talked about. Yes, it's daunting, but it's exciting, and you've got to, we knew the challenge that it was going to be, but also the opportunity that it is. And I think that opportunity is exponentially better when you're surrounded by great people like we have here at Lynchburg, from our administration to our peers to our students, the faculty. Everybody really works well together here, right? And there is a common vision for the student experience, for the student athlete experience, but then also to compete at a high level. It's fun to be a part of a group of people that are as competitive as we are, and we have great competition in our conference. And so, yes, it was daunting to start off and continue building, and we're still not where we want to be. That's a long process, but short-term goals, long-term goals, they're a lot better when you have the right people. And I think that support-wise, we have those, especially our assistant coaches on staff, especially people like you and Mark Robertson working in our sports media, and and just the overall support. People come to our swim meets, right? We have our senior meet coming up this weekend, and it's Code Red, where people are come out. A lot of the athletic teams are already talking about coming out there and supporting it. I understand it. I get swimming's not the most spectator-friendly sport, but what I preach to our team and about the Division III athlete is you don't go to a basketball game or a field hockey game or softball or women's lacrosse because it's the thing to do on campus. It might be that weekend or that night, but you go there because that's your roommate or your lab partner.
Right.
That's a person that you have class with. That's a person that you're on a club council with. And those are your peers. Those are people and support. And, I appreciate that level of support that people have for our swimmers. And, hopefully they can understand the sport a little bit. But, just as long as they remember we want to be to the wall first, then we can celebrate all of that stuff.
Yeah, that community environment feel is one that I've only been here for 4 months now, but it's we call it the Hive for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
It's definitely a big part of it. And I'm gonna have you on this podcast more. You're a perfect segue. You led me perfectly into where I want to go next with the support staff and your assistant coaches. Start with Bailey Nunn. I mean, all-century swimmer, literally, and then becomes the first assistant coach full-time here at the University of Lynchburg. I'd love to know what that process was like, and then how Coach Nunn comes to Lynchburg.
Yeah, so I think that was one of the things when we talk about support for the program. As we grew, we had our first couple of years, we had myself in 2 graduate assistant positions, and with the success and the growth and kind of the long-term support that was in place, we were added that full-time assistant position. And so having the opportunity to seek out somebody after having great help from people like Rachel Spalding, like Alyssa Reed, being assistant coaches in the past, Aaron Green just graduating with his graduate assistant position, people that were really instrumental in helping to build the program, and then being able to add on to that now with them finishing their degrees and us now searching for new assistant coaches, and having that full-time position was critical because there's not many Division III swim programs that have that, right? And to have the opportunity to have somebody in the office full-time with me, recruiting full-time with me, but more so developing the swimmer on the day-to-day. And I think that's where I really wanted somebody who was eager to be a coach, somebody who wanted that fresh start, that bought into the vision of this new program. And Bailey was the perfect fit for that. She had a very successful career. She swam at Drury University in Missouri, close to where she grew up. She was, as you mentioned, named to the College Swim Coaches Association of America all-century team of women athletes. And that's not Division II level like she swam. That is every level of swimming in this country, of college swimming. So you think about she's on there with people like Katie Ledecky and Natalie Coughlin and these household names. So she's very embarrassed. So I get to really drive that home about how proud we are for her. She was just named to that in this past fall, right? Was when that list came out. So I think she came in and was eager to learn, right? Because that's the type of person I want on my staff. Like I will admit I don't have all the answers. I don't ever want to have all the answers. I always want to be learning about our people, about better ways to train, about better ways to communicate, team building, all of those things. And I think she brought that in a really great way, and has just a really high IQ for the sport of swimming. And so while I'm doing a lot more of the overall management pieces, she's great at really getting one-on-one with our athletes, developing their skills. And then at that same time, we had a graduate assistant position open, and Caden Garza is somebody who swam for me when I was at Southwestern University as an assistant in Texas. I knew his work ethic, I knew his attitude, and I think he has brought that really well to the table, continuing to grow his swimming IQ, learning a lot, does a great job with working the type of practices he wants to run, with my help in a lot of those things. He relates really well to our athletes, and he will always be the first one to the office, and he'll always be the first one to get something done, and you don't have to ask him twice. You don't have to with Bailey either. I want to be clear about that. But I think that having that work ethic, and then all of our personalities are a little bit different, and I want our swimmers to have that different communication outlet. So great support staff there. And then Alyssa Reed is still on our staff as a part-time coach, so she helps out a few nights nights a week, travels with us, was able to go to our training trip down in Florida. Also, we were able, she's somebody who was a swimmer for us in our first year, coached with us through the last year, and to give that consistency of somebody other than myself is fantastic, and love the job that she does. And then another person that's involved, I can't go without mentioning Coach Mark Robertson.
There we go. This is where I was going next.
Exactly. he's Mark. If for you all that are listening, he's our sports information director. Is his primary duty on campus. Was a 3-time Montana State Masters swimming champion, but we'll always clarify that he was the only one in his age group when he did that. But he does have a bit of a swimming background. It definitely relates to the athletes well, and just another person to bring energy to the pool deck. I think to have that type of support, to have all these different people, all these different personalities running different groups, that's one of the things that I'm appreciative of every day with my team and my staff.
And bringing the energy. I think that's an ample way of describing who Mark Robertson is in and of himself. But you also talked about your trip to Florida, and this kind of goes back to y'all's schedule. It is not easy from September when you walk on campus pretty much all the way through ODACs and NCAAs into the spring.
Yeah.
So you guys take this trip down to Florida, which Mark is also great for because he takes awesome pictures, and it looks like y'all had an awesome time there. But talk to me about, the quote-unquote mission statement, if you will, why that trip is a part of it, and really what y'all do there, because it may seem like, vacation to Florida, but I know it is anything but a vacation.
Yeah, you could line up all the athletes in here to talk about it, and I don't think any of them would say it was a vacation. And
right.
I did it for 4 years when I was swimming, and it is, at that level, but at the same time, it is kind of a mental vacation, right? Because what we're doing is you have the option of being here on campus where we're training out at the natatorium, in the cold Virginia weather, in the same environment that we were, like you said, all fall, big chunk of spring. We want to give the swimmers something where they are, having a new experience and having something. We're outside, we're in the sun, we stay on the beach. I think that having that is a critical part of being a top program in the country, which is where we really aim to be. Yeah. We want to be a program that is talked about always as a top 25 program. Not quite there yet, building towards that model. We want to be somebody that, what do the best teams in the country do? And that's one of them, is taking that time for a week trip in December or January, to get down to Florida. Some people go to Hawaii, some people go to Puerto Rico. There's a lot of different places that you could go on that trip, right? And so, I like the way that we got to do it our first year. Obviously, with some restrictions last year, we were not, and then getting to go back on that trip this year was something that, adds to that student athlete at a high level experience.
And working out on the beach also, really enjoyed some of that content on the social media page.
I bet you did.
The one who's not doing it.
The plank bridges, and not many people love sand on the team, so that wasn't that popular, but it's a tradition, and that's something that we usually do, and I enjoy it. I do a lot of the beach workouts with them. We had, I think, in talking about my coaching staff, it's also really important to talk about our strength coaching staff and our athletic trainers, and head strength coach Ed Smith is somebody who works with us regularly, and then with him as well, our strength coach is Margot Lee, who is also our athletic trainer for swimming, and having that level of support too is tremendous. Totally. And she was able to come on the trip with us, so she was running those beach workouts. I was doing a lot of the workouts with them, and just something that is different, right? That is going to continue to add to your athletic ability, but it was going to be some team building activities, which was what a lot of that stuff was, in the sand and the surf. Coming back from that trip as a team, right? Going down sometimes, after break, we've had some time away, more of like a group of individuals, but we need to come back from that trip as a team, unified and really ready for the final stretch of the season that we're in right now.
And speaking of that stretch, you come back from Florida, you have dual meet in Richmond, and you take on Randolph-Macon this past week, all leading up to this upcoming Saturday, Senior Day, Code Red game, taking on Southern Virginia. So talk to me a little bit, your takeaways from the past two meets, and some of the things that you're hoping to see improved upon for Saturday.
Yeah, I think that it's important in swimming, a little bit different regular season than we have with our basketball peers that are competing right now, or we're looking at lacrosse and softball and baseball starting up. Track and field operates a little bit more like we do, and as far as this time of year, those dual meets are chances. Yeah, you go one-on-one with the school, and I think it was we had 2 good wins against Bridgewater. Really excited, first time our men have beaten Randolph-Macon. Women had a really close meet, narrowly lost with them. But at the end of the season, it's your conference championship that really is what dictates the the overall success of the season, and that's where we align our peak performance for our training. And so we use these dual meets to figure out what our event lineups are. We work on trying to get people into different events at each meet, getting experience in certain events, especially ones like a 200 or 400 IM distance or 500 freestyle, something that's going to require a little bit more strategy than some of our sprint events. Building confidence with our athletes, giving feedback to them on what they're doing. So that's a lot of what we were doing at the Bridgewater in Randolph-Macon meet, and we'll continue to do that this Saturday. And obviously you want to win those meets, and you stack your lineup to you get to set your chess pieces. I don't get to do as much in-game adjustments as Hillary or Allie might get to do with basketball, but I think that it's something that's fun, and this is going to be our last opportunity to see everybody race before going to ODAC championships. And so the message to the team will be very clear. We have to decide on who our scoring roster is, who our relays are, and this is your last chance to really make a statement of where your level of swimming is, and it's exciting in that way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then one of the last things I want to ask you about, once you get to ODACs, it's been continued progression from your first year, top 4 finishes for both teams, and then last year, the women's side comes away as the ODAC champs, memory serves, and then men not far behind. And now you have some teams returning back into conference play this year, obviously with COVID being at least in a situation where it's been handled and it can be accounted for in your schedule. But once you get to ODACs, obviously, everyone goes there with the hope in mind that you come out as ODAC champs, but talk to me a little bit about what you're looking for and some of those anticipations. But also, I hear that natatorium down in Greensboro is phenomenal, so I'm looking forward to some of the content that comes back, pictures, videos, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty exciting venue, right? Start with that, just because it is where we'll have our ODAC championships, they'll have ACC championships there, they'll have NCAA Division III championships. National champions have been there before. They had Division I national championships there last year. I mean, it is a world-class venue, and so in the ODAC conference, to get to compete at that level of venue is it's an exciting privilege to have. And I think that's something where it's interesting where different levels of swimming, obviously, when you look at ODAC swimming to ACC, one of the best swimming conferences in the country, the men's and women's conferences and national championships, that's a packed natatorium for all of those meets.
Totally.
And so I think that's where our swimmers really get that spectator experience that they deserve for the work that they put in. And going to the meet, obviously, yes, this is where we look at really competing with great teams in our conference, and it's going to be an opportunity for our team to really see a high level of competition. And I think that we'll judge our success off of what is the level of improvement of our team and our individuals. And I think that's what's great about swimming, is that we can be at a level where you could win a conference title, but if nobody goes a lifetime best time, or no school records are broken, you kind of leave feeling flat, even though you might go away with the trophy. You might come away last in the conference, but you break every school record, everybody's swimming faster.
Totally.
And that might sting a little bit, but you're also, you've got a lot to build on. And so it's a mix of the two. We really want to see, we want to get everybody on the team that is on our scoring roster an opportunity to come back to night finals to score. We want to do things where, how many people can we get on the top 8 podium, top 3 medals, all of those things, a lot of different tiers to the level of success that we're looking at. And so I think that's where a little bit different than a normal championship or tournament that some teams might have, lots to build off of, lots to learn from. And I'm excited to challenge our really young team going into this 4-day meet. We have a relay on Thursday night, prelims finals Saturday, prelims finals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 days in a row, 7 total sessions. That's a lot. And there's a lot of nerves and there's a lot of energy, and I really look forward to it, the maturation of our team, and seeing how we're going to grow from having this experience.
And it's a very similar answer, and it's a kind of a tough question to ask a coach because, if it's basketball, it's like, well, our goal is to come back with a trophy, right? But talking with Coach Reed prior to ODACs for cross country, kind of similar, where obviously you want to win a title, you want to come back with a trophy, and you want to have a championship, you want to have that bragging point, and Coach Reed said, if I had every one of my runners run a PR, I'd be happy as a coach because I saw growth. And that's some of the similar things that you're working with now.
Right, and I think that on the subjective side of it too, you want to see that cohesiveness. We talk about team, we talk about family, but let's show those things, right? And that's where I feel really excited about the program as it's developed through this year. It's been a very difficult year, TJ. I think we all understand that. Sure. I think any other coach that's listening, or family, or anybody in life, understands the difficulties faced that are not typical for an athletic season or a school year, right? And so I really admire my team and in the way that people have continued to stick with one another, really create that family atmosphere. And again, want to see those successes in the pool, but I also love seeing all of those red jackets on the side of the pool cheering. I love seeing everybody excited for their teammates' success, not just their own personal success. And so I think that there is that subjectivity, a level of success as well that we got to really look at and celebrate.
And honestly, that might be one of the biggest crowning achievements on your end. So I'm patting your back here. But you look at, let's just take the support staff. Me, Tim, grad assistants, or me, Mark, grad assistants, Tim, and Sam. 4 of us can get along. That's 4 people. That's great. You have one of the biggest rosters on campus, so creating that family environment for, 30, 40 individuals, a lot harder to do than, the support staff crew of 4.
50.
yeah, exactly. 50, yeah, exactly.
So, it's something that, and I think that's what's important, right? We talk about a lot of the challenges that we might face in the pool, similar to challenges you might face in life, right? Where, a bad day in the pool, I'd take that over, over all the other bad things that might happen to you in life. And you learn how to process those things, and you learn how to, you grow up, really, and you have, swimming as something that can teach you a lot of those life lessons. And at the end of the day, the swimming pool is a trivial place, right? Mm-hmm. But those relationships, the people, those bonds, that is a lot more important. And if we're teaching one thing to our team, it's that learn to trust other people, learn to rely on other people, and learn to be there for other people as well. So I think that's a big part of it, and it's not easy to do. Not everybody's always going to be your best friend, especially in a group that large, but that respect level is there, and that that overall that trust and confidence needs to be there as well. So that's what gets through tough times in life, but also gets you through heart racing relays and all that other stuff that I think is the worst part about being a swim coach, right? Because once they're in the water, my job is done. I can get their splits and their times, and I'll provide feedback after the race, but especially when it's that last swim at finals, mm-hmm. you just that's where all the preparation goes, and that's what there's no other job like it in the world where you get to have that experience with a group of highly motivated people. And we're right there. We're almost to that meet and to that part of the year.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much. I think we've had a great talk so far. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join the podcast.
It was great. I appreciate the invitation, especially with Senior Day coming up. I know it's coming out tomorrow. You post the podcast?
Yeah, that'll be out on Wednesday.
So we're recording Tuesday, coming out on Wednesday. This coming Saturday, the meet will now be at 11:30 a.m. So it'll be 11:30 a.m. We're going to be honoring our 6 seniors. We're going to have it as our Code Red meet. Should be a really close meet with a great rival in Southern Virginia. Somebody who's not in the conference, so this is the one time a year that we see them. But it'll be a really fun weekend. We're cutting down some of the distance events, so it'll be just a lot of really good racing. So please come out to the Natatorium this Saturday at 11:30. We'll look forward to seeing everybody out there.
And let me piggyback off of that. As someone who played baseball, basketball growing up, went to my first, it was an exhibition meet, but went to y'all's exhibition earlier this year, and it is something that you have never seen before. I highly encourage you, if you have not been to a swim meet, come out to this one on Senior Day. One, you'll have a bunch of people there cheering on Lynchburg, so you'll have a commonality with many in attendance, but it is just an experience everyone should have. It's not like a basketball game, not better or worse. It's just different, and it's a cool thing to be able to say you've been to. So I'm done gushing about you and your program.
I appreciate it, TJ. I really do appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Coach, any final thoughts?
No, I think that, like I said, looking forward to Senior Day this weekend, looking forward to a great chance at ODAC championships, but also to being part of this great athletic department. Mm-hmm. And so really excited for the start of spring sports. And right after we kind of wrap up our ODAC championship, we get into those basketball ones. So cheering for all of those people, the men and women on the basketball court, and all of them getting out on the field that's frozen over right now. So some days it's nice to be indoors in the warm pool.
Where you control the climate. That's exactly right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, TJ. Thank you all.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of the Hive Podcast. For head coach Brad Dunn, my name's TJ Wingert. Until next week, we are signing off.